And we are live.
Action.
Camera. So
Take 99.
take 99. Yeah, we did the test yesterday. We all had a bit of a beer, so it didn't really turn out. I blamed the hardware. The screen resolution was weird, so we have to do a retake. The third one.
Time lucky.
Yes. So we are gonna do a demo of installing the 2-point software to iPXE server, and then cover some of the configuration.
Nice.
So let's start with an install. Quick and easy. Here, what we're installing on is a Windows Server 2012. It's actually a distribution point because we're going to show some integration with Config Manager. Accept the license agreement. Find your license file. Off you go. Install directory. Install.
Seems pretty easy.
Pretty easy. Then, after we installed, we get some stuff in the program files directory.
But not in x86.
Not in x86 because this is a 64-bit MSI. So here we go. Bunch of files. A config file.
Ah.
Open it up in Notepad. You can see we got some different settings going.
Fairly straightforward.
Quite a lot of them.
Yeah, lots of settings.
So let's start from the beginning. The top two settings are the two main way of operations, either using PowerShell or SCCM. So let's start by demoing the PowerShell, and we turn off the SCCM integration. Then we got lots of other questions or settings that we can set. We'll cover most of them in this session. What we're going to do though is we're going to turn off the HTTP server, and we're going to turn off the iPXE bootloaders.
So we're using good old Windows bootloaders.
Yes, so it'll be good old Windows bootloaders. Save it, and after the install, you can see that you got a service and it's running, and that's all good, but it doesn't show you anything on screen. So in order to make this a little bit more exciting for you guys, we're going to stop the service, and then we're actually going to launch it in interactive mode. And what that does, it's output lots of data onto the screen. So
that's cool. So you can see what's going on.
Yes.
In real time.
So let's go ahead and see if we just start up a machine. We should see some interesting stuff coming by us. Yeah, you can see that the request comes in, blah, 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 blah.
Lots of things going on.
Yeah. First thing we run into is file not found.
File not found. What's going on? No bootloaders.
No bootloaders. So where the bootloaders get, it's a parameter for the MSI install, but it's typically under the program data. You get a 2-point software, 2PXE, and a remote install directory, following kind of the same structure as WDS. In here we got some boot files, but you can see in the x86, x64 we have no files.
Oh, sounds like we've got some work to do.
Yeah, so when we enable PowerShell, what you get is two different PowerShell files that get executed. The first one is just to query. It gets sent the request, the boot request, and it will return whether it should boot or not. The second PowerShell script is what selects the images for us.
Ah, the clever stuff.
Yeah. So if I would have a guess, you can see down here that we are returning some stuff. You can see little code bits. We're returning adding images, but we haven't really done anything about images. So to do that, we need to dump them into the sources folder.
Right.
Luckily, this is also a WDS server, or used to be before, so I can steal some of the config manager images and then just dump them into my sources folders. Make sense?
So now we got boot images.
Now we got boot images. Then what you want to do is that you want to restart the service, because that service startup, it sucks out. You can see it's doing lots of stuff.
Oh, now it's found some bootloaders.
Yes.
Yep.
So
cool.
Let's see what happens if we fire that baby up now. What's going to happen is it's going to send us the bootloaders. You can see, but then it did aborting straight away. Yeah. So it did get further, but what happened? Well, you can see here we get some info.
Yep.
We can set return 2 images, looks good. But you can see an error, invalid image folder name returned from PowerShell.
That's because we didn't fiddle with the PowerShell file enough.
No. You can see here, this is the image names for the sources directory that we want to return. And you can see that they don't match up.
Indeed.
So we want to give our x86 image and x64 images different names. I know that the E one is the x86 one, and the D is the x64. Make sense?
Makes sense now.
Save.
Should work.
And then out of the box, it's gonna go, you should see the request coming in here. And it will boot the N12 because in the PowerShell script, you'll be able to see that there is a little reply here saying force boot is true.
So no F12.
So no F12. So, but we got to a menu.
Got a menu? Yeah, it looks good.
Why did we get a menu, Phil?
Well, it's because we gave it a menu. We built it in PowerShell.
Oh, yes, because we returned 2 multiple images. In this case, it's an x86 BIOS machine, so it will return both images. In the case if it was just a EFI machine, like this one, we boot that one, you can see that it's going to boot, it's only associated with 1 image. No, it's not, because it's the bottom one. I don't really have another machine, so it will do the
so
same
it can
thing.
do both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the Hyper-V always come up as EFI BC, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the logic is up to you. You build that into your PowerShell script, and you can have as many as you like in the menu.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then, of course, once you start booting, it's using the old TFTP downloading the image. So it's kind of slow.
Chugging away.
Chugging away. Too slow for us to look at. So
Yep. We need some more cool stuff.
Let's do some more advanced bits. So let's open up the config file and let's enable the iPXE loaders.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. And we're also going to enable our HTTP server in the 2PXE.
Even better.
Save the config, do a reboot of the service, and then fire that up. So now PowerShell will still be executed, but instead of using the regular bootloaders, we'll get coming in via HTTP, which means we have all of these fun variables to play with.
Ooh.
So what we'll
do is all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, so we'll switch away from the old way of doing things. Comment out my little debug to print the messages to file. And then we'll switch to a different set of bootloader returning. So you kind of have to decide how you want to return things.
Right.
So this is for the iPXE bootloaders. The architecture flags are slightly different. You can see we have platform and
yeah. Kind of similar to the Windows bootloaders, but slightly different in the PowerShell script.
Slightly different. So now we boot that up. Look at the client, server to the left, client to the right. You can see 2 pint iPXE is loaded, and then you could see, oh crap.
Oh crap.
Oh crap.
What happened then?
I don't really know actually. You see it's returning a boot image.
Well, we didn't put the correct names of the boot image folders in there.
No, we didn't. But what did we return in the boot image? Yeah, so we didn't return, we got the wrong names in there. And we didn't return a URL to boot from. So
I think we got getting carried away.
Yeah, a little bit. So if we wanted to boot the local images, the names, of course, would have to match up.
Yeah.
But we want to boot from HTTP from another server.
So we need to give it a URL.
So we need to return that URL because otherwise it would try to get the images from locally. Okay. And that wouldn't work. So let's see. And there you can see.
There we go.
And here you can see that we got the URL open. So if we now select an image here, it's going to go ahead and actually load that image. So you can see it's starting to do HTTP download.
Very cool. So we're in HTTP land.
Yeah. And for people wondering why is the percentage going backwards a little bit, it's because we're doing a branch cache download. So it's moving along as far as it think it's got data, and then it realized that, well, some of the data was not invalid, so it has to redo it. So, but it's still pretty slow. So
fairly slow.
And that's because we're in the BIOS land. So let's take a Windows 10 EFI machine instead and see if there's any speed difference here. So you can see it's only returned one image in this section, and you can see the speed difference is quite dramatic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a lot faster.
So once we get up here, it's going to do bang. So boom. We ran into this yesterday as well, and it's quite a good lesson to do. If you get this F error, typically it says or require device isn't connected. It means that it can't get the boot SDI. And the boot SDI is part of the config when you run iPXE. So what you want to do is there is a setting in here that is called use embedded boot SDIs. And the boot SDI is used when doing PXE booting. It's what mounts the WIM file into an NTFS directory or virtual hard drive. And config manager images has the boot SDI inside it, so we use a customized WIM boot file to suck them out. But this image was not the configuration manager image.
So we didn't have that.
So we didn't have that. So if we go back, do the same thing again. PXE boot comes in, starts doing the download. Man, it's super fast, isn't it?
Pretty quick, pretty quick.
Yeah, it takes about 6 seconds.
Zooming through.
Depends how many, of course, peer caches that handing it out.
Yeah.
And so you run into the same issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why is that? I do that quite a lot because if you change the config file, you need to bounce the service.
Gotta bounce the service.
So back again. Practice makes perfect, isn't it?
Every time.
So now, this time. Gets to demo the download, how fast the download is over HTTP using BranchCache. Of course, if it was just pure HTTP to the server, the download would be about 2-3 seconds. So even faster.
Yeah, it's got to do all its branch caching stuff.
Yeah. So here you can see there was an additional download there, and that was the boot SDI. And then, of course, we're back into WinP.
There we go.
Into WinP land.
Cool.
So that's pretty good. And the PowerShell extension then allows you can communicate and talk to whatever you want. You could get all of these nice variables that you have to figure out, is it the BIOS revision, for instance. This is a Hyper-V. You can see it's 1.0, major, minor of the boot, the BIOS. Figure out if it's BIOS too old. We're gonna send down our own boot image to.
So you could put a lot of intelligence in there.
Yeah, if you want to. And of course, if you got config manager, you probably want to play with that. So let's move up and see what we can do about that.
Yeah.
So we'll disable the PowerShell extension and enable the SCCM one. We're not gonna do SQL connection. We're gonna use our HTTP connection back. So it's more or less a copy of the WDS. We're gonna use.
So
don't use.
Gonna go back through the management point.
Yep. So we're gonna say. I'm just gonna set these because I'll forget to set them back. But no iPXE booters, so Windows bootloaders, and we'll turn off the HTTP server. It's not used at all for the you can see here it's the service is doing stuff. That's basically preparing the config files. So after that, when you fire the machine up, you can see we're still getting the WDS stuff. And if you saw here, you should be able to see some of the XML and other data.
Oh yeah, definitely in config manager land.
Yeah, you can see here that the management point is getting client replies and etc. And here we're booting to a mandatory advert that's available. So it's more or less a copy of what you can get with Configuration Manager.
Yep, pretty cool.
Yep. But we know that we can do that with WDS today. So
what else can we do?
We can do some more advanced stuff. So let's turn on let's start the HTTP server. Let's start with the iPXE loaders instead. Now let's keep them off and just do the SQL. I think it's made more logic. You need to provide the server name. So in this case, it's...
So we're going direct into SQL now.
Yes. And this is what typically the management point does anyway.
Yeah, we're just bypassing the management point.
The reason why we're doing it is because we get more data by SQL than we can from the management point. And you'll probably get an understanding of what I'm talking about once we booted the machine. So let's fire up a machine. You should see that the server on the left is going to do, let's see if I spell it right, 2p, no, and of course the SQL is going to time out here. Let's say,
gotta get the connection string right.
Yes, 2ps test 1. Fired up, and then we should see on the left here, it should start doing quite a lot of work.
Yep, so there's the stuff coming back.
Yep. And we should see, in this case, I believe we'll still see a menu. Oh, indeed.
Wow, that's more like it.
So of course we get the mandatory advert first, so that would execute after 30 seconds unless we choose something else.
Okay.
So, but then we have the option to choose whatever we want to boot.
So is that countdown configurable?
It is not at the moment. It's hard-coded to 30 seconds, but if people, we don't believe people who's going to use the Windows bootloaders because they're not as good, but there might be cases, but if you want to use it, then let us know. It's very easy for us to change. But this is not really where the cool stuff is, so let's move on to the cool stuff. Do you see this is just still using TFTP? It's very slow, very clunky.
Yeah, but at least we had a menu.
Yeah. So you can do, if you can't use HTTP for whatever reason, you can still do advanced stuff using TFTP.
Yeah.
But let's move up the food chain. So we enable our iPXE loaders and make sure that we turn on our HTTP server.
Okay, why do we need the HTTP server?
Because that will send all of the configuration data from the iPXE loader to the 2PXE server, who will analyze it and take the right action.
Yeah.
So the first time you boot up, it will create every single BCD file for each WinP image that you have on your site server.
Right.
So that takes.
So your first boot could be a little slow.
Could be a bit slow.
While it builds the scripts, etc.
Yeah. So here you can see a similar menu. It's in a
Yeah, we've
slightly
got a mandatory, optional.
slightly different order, yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you select your mandatory, you'll see that it goes away. Then interesting here is that we're doing HTTP directly from the DP.
Ah, I can see, yeah, in the URL there.
And the URL. And this is also using BranchCache, so it's very nice.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's
and you think it's a little slow. It's because it was still on a iPXE BIOS machine. So I'll let that run there.
Yeah, it's never gonna go so fast.
If I do the same thing on my EFI machine, you'll see it's a lot quicker. Menu is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because we can see we have this other little bit, view non-compatible boot images and task sequences. It's because we've advertised an x86, which doesn't run on this.
So we filtered that one out.
So filter it out, but we still want to show.
Oh, that's cool. You can still see it.
Yep.
Very
so if
nice.
I go ahead and choose that, you'll see that the speed is just enormously much better.
Oh, it's much faster.
So this is more what you'd see on physical hardware.
Yep.
And then you'll boot.
And we had a little send state at the end there, I see.
Yeah, so that sends the state message saying that we've now actually triggered this mandatory advert, so it won't be available unless you clear the iPXE flag for that machine.
Ah, good old iPXE flag.
And it's something that we want in the next version remove, so you can, from the menu there, if you configured it, that you can reset the iPXE flag yourself, or the technicians can do it.
That would be awesome for testing.
Yeah, especially for testing if you rebuild over and over again.
Mm.
Here, this little guy is because we set the preferred advert for the one that you select, so it's going to automatically start. And this is an unknown machine. And unknown machines get this little warning.
Ah, it's a little extra check.
Yeah, so I'm going to press OK there. If I go back to my iPXE, the other machine, you can see that has the same thing. It's also an unknown machine.
Right.
So
cool
if I do cancel there, it's just going to go ahead and reboot the machine. So what I want to do instead is I want to take my known machine, fire that one up. Let's see what that one gets. You see that one had an enter and the screen is a bit, they fixed that for the Windows 10 EFI, has a better screen output. You can see we only had an optional one, so that's why we had to press F12.
Right.
But you can see the amazing speed here using BranchCache and the HTTP download.
Yep, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty good speed.
You wouldn't want to go back to TFTP once you tried this.
No. So that's just going to kick straight into the actual task sequence. As you can see, there's no prompt there for that machine because it's known. So
yeah.
So that's pretty good.
That's pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
And the other machine here that we've started off, you can see it's doing a download. It's going very slow. It's because we're doing a bits download in WinPE, and we have a policy set to only go very slowly. I have no data pre-cached from the other clients.
Right, that's pretty cool. Then that's a good. If you have to pull the image across your WAN, then at least we can throttle it a bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what you can do with the 2iPXE server. And maybe we want to show, if I take my BIOS machine here, we should see, if I fire it up, we should be able to see that my mandatory advert, I think that was filtered out. No, I didn't let it boot long enough, did I?
Okay.
Because we send the state at the very end after the boot and download has finished. So the iPXE service point by default sends it as soon as it answers. So if something goes wrong with the download,
you have to clear the flag. Yeah, sure.
At least we're doing it after. And it's something you can also, there is a setting in the config file, which is whether we want to send status messages. So report state.
Oh, that's new. I haven't seen that before.
Oh yeah, it's in there.
Very nice.
There's also a little mentioning here of, I think it's called, see, we're using a Rubicon step. What is that? Well, we don't believe that setting the flag is, because especially if you're doing testing or even deployment, if something goes wrong in the task sequence, it could be because you can't contact a server at a certain time or whatever. You don't want to fail the entire thing.
No.
So instead, you want to have a step in the task sequence that sets the PXE flag, because then you've executed far enough into the sequence, and that would typically be before you reboot your machine into the proper OS. So there we have the ability with the next version of the status message generator to send a Rubicon step, which is basically set the PXE flag from WinPE itself.
That's clever.
So that will come in with the RTM version of the PXE server.
That's a pretty cool feature.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, excellent stuff.
So I think for the next demo that we'll do in a day or two, we'll do the showcase what you can do the BranchCache in this. We didn't really cover the details on how fast it goes, but
that would be a good one, I think. Yeah.
Different setting to do.
So for now, can people get this?
Yes, they can. You sign up on the beta on the website, and they will get the next release that goes out the window.
Awesome. All right then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.